Hello, Scott. Hello, Andy.
Hey, Steve. How's it going, bud?
All right, good. I hear you very well. Happy Tuesday, everybody. The Tuesday night webinar, 5 o'clock Eastern, is the trade of the week with yours truly, myself, Steve Gomez, and Andy Van Loff. Quick disclaimer on these webinars, just a reminder that we're a content provider, and we're going to show you some cool technologies and some ideas, but none of this really should be construed as financial investment advice. If you're looking for, individual financial advice, retirement planning, things like that, the registered advisors and the brokers, those are the ones you want to talk to. They are authorized to give you that kind of official information, but we're just a software as a service company with some cool content, some cool technology to share with you today. For the newer users, we really pride ourselves on the concierge and onboarding of trade ideas. Like I said, we've got 4 webinars a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern, each with a different flavor and a different group of people. We've got the live trading room, which is Barry Anderson hosted. It's free. You don't have to be a Trade Ideas user. So if you're here for the first time and you're kicking tires, one of the first things you might want to do is just sign up for the free live trading room every day and watch and listen to Barry demonstrate his desktop and what he's doing and how he's using Trade Ideas technology. There's a customer or there's a technical support tab in there that's really good as well. If you're having trouble, there's some great crowdsourcing answers that can always pop up. It's a great group. It's a free group. That's why everybody's happy in there, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. And then lastly, the reason you're not alone with Trade Ideas, we've got a podcast on Friday, but we've also got one-on-one sessions that we're still doing. Basically, you are eligible for a one-on-one session where we share our desktop with you and deal with you directly and find out what your custom needs and wants are and how you want to use the program, answer any questions you got, share some of our scans with you, and kind of put you in the direction that you want to head. So it's a great $99 value for 1 hour's worth of time, custom desktop sharing to really get you going. And after all of that, webinars, live trading rooms, and podcasts, and free one-on-one session, after 30 days, I'm sure you'll agree, it's one of the best programs out there. We've been doing this for 14 years, and we are a very fast-growing company, as you can see. This should be updated even higher, but the retail segment has been growing by leaps and bounds, of course with some help from the AI tool Holly, but just the word is getting out for the most part. People are really understanding the value of Trade Ideas, whether you're using the AI or whether you're just using it for your own personal scans and top lists. There's a million different ways you can go with using Trade Ideas. Speaking of which, Brokerage Plus for interactive brokers users. We're creating a foundational tool that connects directly with interactive brokers and will allow you not to trade the AI calls, but to trade your own call alerts and your own strategies and things that you've created and back tested and done yourself. So rather than manually trading the alerts that you're looking at, the Trade Ideas Brokerage Plus for interactive brokers will connect you, and you can do auto trading, where essentially if an alert comes out and you authorize it in your risk management parameters to make that trade, interactive brokers will make that trade on your behalf, and it'll be show up in your account instantaneously. So it's an auto trading feature. It is not a beginner's feature. If you're a beginner, meaning 6 months or less, please don't even consider it. This is something for people who have kind of paved their way, know what they're looking for, and know how to manage risk and take it to the next level. So there'll be more on interactive brokerage plus with Trade Ideas in the near future. For now, it's still in beta mode, and if you want more information on it, you can get it at trade-ideas.com/beta. All right, so agenda for April 25th. We can't have that. That's not the way we want it. We want to have this correct. Agenda for May 2nd. Missed that. So what we're going to do is a typical market recap, what's going on in the markets, a Holly recap, kind of an interesting day to discuss a few concepts with the AI. Trade of the week discussion. This week's trade of the week, we'll go over Juniper did not trigger. It was a pullback alert. And and might even revisit last week's Trade of the Week discussion just to kind of see how Restoration Hardware is doing. We've got the new Trade Ideas filter that I'm going to show you guys. It's much anticipated by certain people in Barry's room that are active day traders, basically looking for a filter that shows us during regular market hours how the stock prices are approaching and taking out, or getting close to taking out, I should say, their pre-market highs. And that's a strategy for some people that have really been clamoring for that. So I'll touch on that briefly and maybe how to set that up and go in your own direction on that. And then we'll spend, 20 minutes just kind of going over some basic features, Trade Ideas. If you've got a question that you just can't figure out with Trade Ideas, this is the time. There's no dumb questions. Everybody can learn from other people's questions, and maybe we'll even take a look at a few charts too. But we're trying to really focus a certain amount of time during these webinars to get back to basics, because we do understand there are new people in here that have not subscribed yet and may have a few questions and may need a few ideas addressed before they make decisions, and as well as new traders or new subscribers that are using it and just can't figure something out. So that last section will be for you without a doubt. Okay, all right, let's proceed and start with a minimization of that window, and we'll go to the spiders. All right. Got a couple extra things. If you were in Jamie's webinar yesterday, it's pretty much similar to how we closed yesterday, but there's a couple things that might be going on under the surface. Basically, if we zoom out again, the spiders have fulfilled their continuation pattern of this giant wedge, price action breaking out of the wedge and above this prior pivot point and holding above, going sideways. And as I mentioned yesterday, stock prices or indexes in this case, or ETFs, price action in general, let's just say, it can correct in two different ways. It can correct over time, or it can correct in price. The more bullish of the two is the latter, correcting over time, where we see a level taken out and then the sideways action where we're just kind of buying time, waiting for the buyers to step back in, moving averages to come up and help push the market higher. That's one way to consolidate or correct. The other is to correct by pulling back in price, and we haven't seen that, and that's the least of the bullish of the two. So for now, the diamonds, there's the Dow just going sideways, 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 just kind of waiting for the next catalyst to possibly push us higher. I mean, there's really nothing bearish about this chart. However, there are a couple of things we will talk about. Let's just start with the Qs for the most part. Qs are absolutely running away from the station as usual, and I shouldn't say as usual, but as they did back here. The tech-laden Qs, NASDAQ has been our leadership. But we did just have Apple with earnings, and let's just take a quick look at what the Qs are looking like after hours. We may have a little bit of interesting things. There we go. What happened was Apple did come out with earnings today, and Apple, maybe you heard us mention, it is what it is, but the NASDAQ, 40% of the NASDAQ is comprised of about 5 stocks. Your Apple, your Amazon, your Google, and the other ones I can't recall,
Facebook.
Microsoft and Facebook. And so when one of those giant components misses, which basically Apple's not selling as many phones, and they missed a little bit, well, that's gonna show up in the Qs. So what we had today in the Qs, we have given back some after hours. So just keep that in mind, folks, that the Apple earnings didn't really help the Qs today. We'll see what that brings tomorrow. What was this? What was I going to talk about? Oh, the IWM just can't get out of its own way. Let's just go back to the daily on this. Now, it's obviously going to do one of two things. It's either going to start participating if the rest of the indexes continue to stay strong, and if it does start to participate, well then, you wouldn't be surprised to start seeing some of the smaller cap junk stocks start to rally. But we'll see what the market thinks about Apple missing today, and the Qs might, the NASDAQ might have a little bit of price action to get back tomorrow. But the IWM is definitely lagging, and it's lagging pretty hard. Now, again, on the contrary side, devil's advocate Andy pointed out something very interesting to me today. GM and Ford have ugly, ugly, ugly charts. I mean, these are big, big companies, and they're not selling cars. And it's just kind of interesting to see the dichotomy of the 40% of the 5 stocks that make up the Qs, giving us one particular perspective of what the market's doing, and then we start looking and seeing how Ford and GM can't sell any cars. So that's kind of interesting as well, which is a dovetail into Holly when we get there, but unless Andy has anything he wants to chime in on here on the general market discussion.
Yeah, if you don't mind, Steve, because that's some, you always want to know what the underlying kind of equities are doing and stocks are doing, because we are so heavily weighted, some of these big players like Apple and Google and Facebook. As a matter of fact, I was looking, it was all-star charts as well. Steve had an example, and he said this is one reason why I can't get excited about this market right now. And he showed the weighted S&P index versus the non-weighted. Boy, you should see the difference. I mean, you basically got one, and basically it's in a long-term downtrend versus a long-term. Well, you see the spiders. That's obviously.
When did he?
I think it was probably Saturday or something like that. You could probably.
J.C. Peretz. Yeah.
Right, and I think you may have to go back to. I want to say it's Saturday, Steve, but I hope it wasn't a while back.
Was that a chart?
I think he had. Yeah, I think he had a couple of charts in there. Oh, wait, what was that? Was that discretionary? Okay, no.
There, is this it?
Yep, right there.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the S&P equal weighted versus the weighted, cap weighted. That's two different looking charts there.
I use that word loosely sometimes, guys. I'm sorry.
I didn't even catch it. Hopefully they didn't either. But
hashtag rigged.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. But anyway, yeah. So keep an eye. So if you do see a couple of those, high flyers like the Apples and Facebooks, not reporting some decent earnings, and really, we could have it could fall pretty precipitously.
I wonder what I wonder what the Nasdaq looks like in the same comparison, weighted versus non-weighted.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see for sure.
Interesting one. Okay.
But anyway, yeah, you have a downtrend versus basically an uptrend, but that just goes to show you how the underlying fundamentals can be kind of, really falling apart underneath, but yet the market is levitating, if you want to say, due to the weighting. But anyway, it's always good to see.
Yeah.
That's another reason why the IWM is not really following along in my perspective as well. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, it just depends on how you feel about, 5 stocks comprising 40% of this runaway market. Is that fair? I don't know, but it is what it is. Okay. All right, let's move on to the AI today. Not too many trades. I think there's about 16 trades, but here is what is really interesting. We had, for the first time in a while, a pretty much 50-50 split of directional bias. We had some shorts that were going off today that were very interesting. 2 of the shorts, as a matter of fact, were the biggest winners of the day. And I want to call your attention. There's basically 2 ways you can enter a short trade. You can hammer the bid and try and hope for follow-through on downside momentum and hope for not getting a bounce. But that hasn't necessarily worked in this market where everybody's buying the dip. Or you can start looking for areas to fade. Fade meaning a contrarian entry, jumping in front of the price action as it gets tired and then establishing a short position. Well, I want to highlight to you guys here this selling strength. It's exactly what it sounds like. Selling strength was the #1 short performer today. It actually was the best performer of all the strategies in terms of risk on, risk off at the end of the day. We had 5 trades for 80% win factor. Now, why we like selling into strength so much is it's something that our eyeballs necessarily and our brain doesn't think about doing in real time. And I got to mention, especially the people who have been trading for just a couple of years, all you guys have seen has been a bull market, which means buy the dip and we go higher. At some point, the dynamics may change. And trading, effectively, requires you to be like a tennis player. You got to have a good forehand and a good backhand. And this market has been basically helping everybody work on their forehand. But at some point, we're going to have to start working on our backhand. And today, Holly was showing signs of how the backhand can come into play and create additional alpha beyond just the idea of coming in and wanting to go long all the time. But getting back to these selling needing the strength, I mean, basically, the markup was right here. After a morning of pushing up, pushing up, pushing up, our brains and our eyeballs don't necessarily look at this point and say, I'm going to short this point. But there's a lot of statistical scatter plots and data points that you don't see that the AI is seeing up here at these levels, which said, hey, the statistical odds favor a bit of a pullback. Well, we got an immediate pullback, and I think Holly took her profits, and then there was a bit of a midday push to not much higher, maybe a tick higher, and then it just completely fell out of bed. But the point being, these types of entries, as the markets are moving, as the stocks are moving higher with green candles, you know, it's not in our makeup and our psyche to say, I want to short that. And so it's really nice to start to see the value of the AI come into play here and show us these types of entries. This one actually just nailed it completely on the screws. I mean, that's our markup right there, pretty much was the top tick of the day, and then it never really looked back on that particular short. So again, it's not chasing shorts going to new lows, it's looking for levels of resistance. And this is the action that we start to see when the markets are not so much a buy the dip market. Now, I'm not calling it a change in the winds here. I'm just saying that this was interesting. For the first time, we saw really a 50-50 split of both going long. Oh, you want to see a 16% winner? Well, here's a 16% winner on risk on. Basically, this guy here, CDXC, early in the morning, broke out of its 3-day congestion for the most part and had a beautiful day. So looking left, we didn't see a whole lot of congestion in the near term. We did see some back here, but in the near term, we broke through the recent congestion and had a really nice 16% move, which is right there on the graph. So a really nice mixed bag day of both short and long, and these are the kind of days in which Holly can really kind of serve not only as an idea generator, but kind of a bigger picture generator. There are things that may be starting to bubble below the surface that are not being reflected so much in the bigger picture. Indexes, here's selling strength again. Looks like this one actually was a winner. Holly took the quick winner profit save, so probably exited on that candle right there. The price did go higher midday and then fell again lower. But again, selling into strength, I think, is, you know, something that the value of the AI is there for, that we don't necessarily have equipped with our own eyeballs and our own brains. And so this is where I think the value really starts to come in. And if this market continues to be bifurcated where both shorts and longs are working, what a great way to demonstrate how to use both your forehand and your backhand and start observing how Holly, the statistically proven probable model, will start to enter certain short trades. Mm-hmm. Did you have anything you wanted to add there?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at AVY, if you want to take a look at that, because I thought this was a kind of a beautiful contrarian. You're looking at the daily, and you guys might be thinking like, well, wait a minute, this is she called this on a potential breakout. Mm-hmm. But remember, she is factoring in so much more data than just you know, Holly hitting a multi-month high and potentially breaking out of a kind of a 5-day range there. She's looking at volume. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe it was only doing a certain percentage of volume on that breakout. Maybe it was only doing half its normal volume, for whatever reason. Another thing too, you have to keep in mind that as the market was down when this was happening, so the stock was sitting there and all of a sudden took a move higher, trying to break out with the market, you know, going down at the same time. So for whatever reason, just remember it is a tough game to go against the chart. But sometimes those contrarian plays, you know, in the right type of market and when it's doing the right amount of volume and for whatever reason can be very low risk. You can see there that was the high of the day, and there was really no reason, you know, to get out of that trade because it just kind of kept going lower, you know.
Yeah. This is a a good point to stop because Leslie asks a very good question. So I'm going to answer my three. Her question is, Steve, if I may ask, when a Holly alert comes up, what are the top three things that you look at immediately, ASAP? So I'm going to answer my three, and then that may even differ from Andy's three. So let's see. First thing I'm going to look at, daily chart. Every single time, daily chart. What does the daily chart look like? Second thing I'm going to look at, what's the market doing? What's the direction of the market? I do want to know what the direction of the market is. Even though that may be a bit overriding, I would like to know in my own mind what's the direction of the market. Third thing I want to look at is average daily volume and or relative volume. I'd like to see how the average daily volume and the relative volume are performing. Other than that, it's pretty much just, looking at the charts first and foremost. It's probably a two-pronged answer. The first thing to look at is the daily chart. That's A, 1A, and 1B would be, of course, the entry on the 15-minute chart. And then what is the market doing in general? And then what are some of the data points in terms of the volumes? Beyond that, maybe I noticed that gold was strong today and that Holly just came out and called a gold stock that I'm familiar with, knowing that gold is strong. So a sector could also play an important part if I was familiar with that. So that's actually, four things at once. But, daily chart, where's the resistance? Where's the downside? Where's the upside? What's the liquidity? What's the market doing? And then if I can read anything more into that, possibly sectors. What about you, Andy?
You know what, Steve? I was digging up a link for somebody, but I can guarantee you this: a lot of the same things that Steve just said, I know are my top priority as well. Steve and I started trading together, 18 years ago. We had a company, Today Trader, together. I know Leslie knows that, and but yes, foremost is the daily the pattern, because that is where you find your true support and resistance. For me, it is tough to find on a 5 or 15-minute chart. I can see it better on the daily chart. That is true. I'm also a big proponent of the market and peers. What is peers? I like to, in some cases, a stock comes up and honestly I will not know its peers, but in most cases I will, and I'll kind of have a good feeling of what the sector is doing, what its peers are doing. I will say with this, since trade ideas came in, I had to do this all the time. When Steve and I first started trading, we didn't have this incredible, powerful software like Trade Ideas. So we had to use, our own intuition and our own gut feeling and know what stocks were in every sector. Know what stocks were with each commodity, if it was associated with oil, if it's associated with gold, if it's associated with steel. Those are good things to still know. It's old school stuff, but it's good to know that kind of stuff. But I know Steve hit on the same things. I would be looking at volume. I'm always looking for volume. But one other one I wanted to point out before we left Holly too is that I thought that RLGT was a beautiful entry, and look at this trade. A beautiful entry and a beautiful exit. And this was over a 3% gain in this one because it was only a $6 stock. And there you see.
You look at.
Yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just breaking out of the daily. I love it when it catches it.
Nice bull flag for all you people. Exactly. So, it's not going to jump out and scream at you, hey, bull flag breakout, but it's up to you to really start to learn. And I can't emphasize this enough. You guys really got to start immersing yourself in charts. And when you hear Andy and I say the first thing you look at is the daily chart, well, there's a million different, combinations that you can only learn through experience. So the more hours and the more time, that you can put into reading charts and learning about charts and learning about patterns and trends and things, the better it's going to be working out for you.
Steve, I want one important thing to say about AVY, if you'll go back there real quick, because this is how you might want to play something like this, because if you're looking at the daily and you go, well, wait a minute, this is kind of flagging, this looks like a beautiful long, maybe, but Holly's telling you the odds are for a short in this favor. Maybe you look at it, because one thing I do, and I've always preached, if I'm looking at a breakout and I take the entry, as soon as it goes back down through the level I was looking at, I'm out. I don't even want to play around. It's either going to go through that area and keep going for me, or I'm pretty much done. Now I'll give it 2 or maybe 2 to 5 cents, but I don't want to play around with it if it's not going to take the breakout. So what you can do, maybe you won't get the the same call that Holly got at 6408, basically top ticket, but maybe you can watch it and see if it falls and drops back into that range, and then maybe take it 5 cents lower or something like that, because it just continued down. It was essentially a failed break, and now it's still intact, but it just it failed for today, for sure. All right, sorry, Steve.
Another thing you can do also is, that was a selling into strength. Once again, selling into strength. Came into the day with a 4.42 profit factor, and it was right 67% of the time. So, a decent strategy to start the day with. If you're not, sorting and keeping track of the win percentage and the profit factor of the actual strategies on the parent window, that's another thing that you can take a look at. And, maybe just focus on the ones that have the higher strategies if you want to at first. But there's a lot to be gleaned from the AI. It's going to trade whether we want to or we feel like it or not. It's going to swing and take swings if there is a reason to take a swing. So when the market does start to get soft, and we're also used to playing our forehand, this is where I really feel Holly can help some of the newer traders get a leg up and start seeing what the non-emotional trader next to them is doing in a certain market. So I'm kind of looking forward to the day when we have maybe a month of selling, so we can really see how Holly does in that environment. It's been hard to get a full month of selling. We get a couple days or two, a lot of volatility, and then a giant gap up, and then the AI doesn't really quite know what to do with a giant gap up. And so, I'm real curious to see how the AI performs in a quote-unquote, smooth, sell the rips, sell the bounces type market, week on, week after week, and see what we get on that. Because for the most part, for the last year and 5 months of Holly, it's been buy the dip. All right. Fred is asking if there's a scan that can help us spot a buying bull flag or a flag. There is on the intraday type stuff. We have the ability to look for geometric patterns, and I'll just quickly show you. But on the daily chart, we have to identify those ourselves for the most part. We don't have the ability to look back 7 or 8 days and configure a flag pattern. So, but we do have the ability. You can go right here on the configuration and go to geometric patterns, and then you've got your double bottoms, triangle tops, your flag type patterns, but they're going to be in hours of trading instead of days of trading. So kind of yes and no to your question there. All right, so risk on, risk off was pretty much about the same. Why? Because we had both longs and shorts going today. Let's say that we had nothing but shorts going today. Well, the last half hour of the market was kind of ripping straight up, and so a lot of that risk on profit probably would have went away if they were open naked shorts. But the fact that Holly was basically a hedge fund today, playing both long and short, that little spike candle at the end of the day didn't really do much to the risk on profit. It pretty much stayed where it was. So that was an interesting notice as well. So let's go, I believe, to the trade of the week and talk about a little bit of that. Yeah. So the first one was Juniper this last week, and trust me, we had a lot of bantering back and forth. I think pretty much everybody in Trade Ideas was involved this week in trying to curate and find some ideas on the short list. And one of the things we did not want to do was create a buy the breakout scene. We didn't want to do any chasing. So we looked for something that basically had earnings. Again, we've got earnings, and we don't want to get people into stocks that have earnings in 2 or 3 days. It doesn't really give us a lot of staying power. But this is essentially what happened to Juniper. Really nice breakout from earnings. And these were the 2 candles here that we had to work with going into the weekend. I'm rather surprised that we've had this follow through. That's wonderful. It shows strength. It's great, but better to miss a trade than to chase a trade and get immediately stopped out. So essentially what we're doing is we're just drawing this line on the prior breakout right around 29.21, I think, is the official trade of the week entry. So set your price alerts, because in the next day or two or the next week, there could be a point in time where the algorithms in the morning stop hunt reaches down and tries to test this level, and the only way you're going to know about it is if you set a price alert. So I have one set as well. If you have the ability to set price alerts, I'd recommend just going trade of the week on Juniper, 29, 21, 22, 23, whatever you want, but that's what I've already set, and so I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to know that if there's a moment in time, and I'm guessing, once again, I'm kind of guessing that it would probably happen in the first 20 minutes when usually the stop hunts try to occur. So that's Juniper. It was a conditional trade. It's still open at any time. It could trigger. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. You know, similar to what we did with Oracle last week. If the market had continued to get weak, we had a trade of the week open right there where that red line is on a gap fill in Oracle, and that didn't happen. But again, trying to be a little bit more conservative with the entries here as of late, which brings me to last week's trade of the week, Restoration Hardware. Basically gapping away, but the problem's for the shorts. The shorts are down to 65% now, but that's still 65% of 30 million in the float. There's a lot of people that are going to have some decisions to make if the price continues to move higher. A little frustrating. What we had here was some cutesy analyst firm decided to upgrade the stock, gapped it up, and the opening trade was the top tick, and then it just got sold off right ever since the open. Didn't really care for that. I never really care for that, but the good news is that did not follow through. That was followed up by a day going lower with a nice wick and a bounce back up, and then today. But today, you know, was nice. It was nice to see that green. It's basically kicking the ball back into the range, and the short sellers are not out of the woods by any stretch of the means. If this price gets back above this high of this red candle, you could see a short squeeze start to develop again with 65% of the people being short. But I really want to highlight this single stock window on the 5-minute volume. You know, it went out. Most of the stocks do go out with high volume. It's just the way they go out at the end of the day. There's a lot of matching and volumes will increase in the last 5 minutes. During the day, I did grab a screenshot of RH. Hey, look at RH. Hey, it's coming back for us. Nice green candles. But I quickly look over, relative volume, 0.43, barely even doing half of its normal volume. And the 5-minute volume, which I'm constantly monitoring, was also only half, 52% of normal. So I quickly just said, all right, well, you know, until these numbers change, I'm not going to get excited about Restoration Hardware. So I'm constantly monitoring relative volume and 5-minute volume as stocks are making highs and making an attempt to go back to levels of interest. So today was a very anemic, low volume day for Restoration Hardware, but in the bigger picture, you know, here's our range for the most part, and so as long as we're still in this range, and as long as these shorts are still hanging out at 65%, there is a great possibility that patience can be a virtue and eventually pay off in Red Hat. Excuse me. Anything you want to add?
No, I think you're right. I was impressed by the price action today. Yeah, we're still in the game. Still in the game for sure.
And I'm just answering the question here real quick.
Oh, no problem.
I'm not sure, West. Let's see. He's asking, is the container feature to the layout still in the works? I am not sure about that. I'm not privy to the developers and the priorities meetings. But at any time, you can do feature request as your message and send to info@trade-ideas.com and maybe ask for an update on the container windows, meaning not having individual windows. And on the heels of that, let me just give you a quick workaround in case you weren't aware. If you want to minimize trade ideas, minimize it from the toolbar, okay? Minimize. Everything's gone, right? But if I want to pull it back up, if I just click one of these individual windows, I'm not going to get the entire layout. What you need to do is go back to the top and look for this TI icon that says Custom Trade Ideas Pro. You click that and it respawns all your windows. So in case anybody didn't know that, that's a nice little hack, a nice little workaround. But for the time being, we do not have a master container. There's still free-floating windows. The web version is slowly coming together. The web version was one of the ideas to solve the container window apparatus, but I, of course, prefer the downloadable version for many reasons. All right. Oh, great. Somebody didn't know that. I'm glad I showed that. Excellent, Stu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was the trade of the week, and last week's trade of the week, Restoration Hardware. I still have good feelings about this. You know, there's our range. Let's see if we can get back above that that orange guy there.
Yep.
It's the top end of our range. All right, where are we going from here? Well, we're going to go to just kind of an announcement of a new filter, and I'll just basically pull up something that I put together quickly this morning to try and get a starting point to understand what it is this is looking for. So what I'm going to do is go to configure, and the new filter in question or in discussion here, I'm just going to type in the word pre. People were clamoring for wanting an alert or a filter, I should say, which would allow them to build an alert around that filter. But they've been asking for a new filter to alert us when the stock in the regular hours takes out the pre-market highs, because sometimes you get some action in pre-market and then the stock opens lower and then volume comes in and then it takes out that pre-market high, and that's a lot of times that we can't see on our charts unless you're using pre-market charts, which I prefer not to do. So this is the filter. There's two of them. It's below pre-market high, and you'll notice it's in dollars, not percentages, and above pre-market low. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna just say below pre-market high is the one that people are interested in if you're going long. So it's a filter that looks at the pre-market high and then can tell us during the regular market where it is in relation to it. There's a couple different ways you guys can go from this. You can create maybe an alert with a new high, but using this filter to tell you that it just made a new high within 1 or 2 cents of the pre-market high to give you an early warning system. Or you could just go straight into a top list, which is what I built here with nothing more than filters. And this is the top list that I built, but you'll notice that I'm basically sorting it by this below pre-market. Now, how do we configure this? It's a little goofy, and I highly recommend if somebody's interested in it, select this, click your help button, and then give yourself a really good understanding about how these alerts are set. They're very different from position and range. They're not using percentages, they're using dollar values, and what is one value in position and range is another value for pre-market high, below pre-market high, I should say. So just real quick, you know, going back, I created a simple top list, which is looking for stocks at least doing 1.5 relative volume, meaning 50% more volume than they normally would. Change from the close is positive, so these are all stocks that are positive. They're not negative. They're positive from yesterday's close, but again, we're highlighting the pre-market. The volume 5 minutes, I always like to have 200% in my volumes if they're doing something. But here is the figure right here. So what I'm saying is show me stocks below their pre-market high anywhere from 0 to 5 cents. And how that looks on the screen, let me get out of this. Okay, so there's the 0 and there's the 5 cents. So basically, 5 cents from pre-market high means that it still has 5 cents to go. Anything that's at 0 is basically at pre-market high. So however you want to filter those is up to you, but it's a brand new filter, and still trying to get used to it. And it can be interesting if we can find the right alerts and right top list for it. But that's the way it basically looks. I can double click and I can say, okay, show me the stocks that are actually at the pre-market high. Whereas down here, these stocks are still 5 cents away from pre-market high. I don't have a pre-market to judge. This is where the prices went out. But if you create something like this during the day, you can start to monitor, and basically what you would want to do is right-click into your charts, properties, show pre-market. So you can see where the pre-market high was, which was this guy right here. As we got close to the end of the day, it looks like this thing was 5 cents away, and there it is. There's 41.44, and here's basically 41.39 at the end of the day, so 5 cents away from pre-market high. That's about as basic as I can go with that. So there's many different directions you can go. Like I said, if you want to build an alert, you could do a new alert and just focus on creating new highs, but use that window-specific filter to only show you highs as they are getting close to their pre-market highs. And what you probably want to do on an alert like this is really crank up the volume filters. Find stuff that maybe even gapped up. Maybe it's doing 2-3 times normal relative volume. Anything that's really doing really good volume, those are the ones that are of more interest in taking out pre-market highs rather than just your average random stock going higher than a couple of ticks that it happened to have made pre-market. Hopefully that makes sense. Alrighty, so we've got about 10 minutes or so, and this is where we want to open it up to you guys. So feel free to chime in with any question you have, whether it's a function of the Trade Ideas platform. How do I do this? How do you do that? Is there a way to do this, a way to do that? If you have a chart you want to look at, we can both take a look at charts. And the reason I want to do that, we do enjoy looking at charts, and at the same time, we're constantly hammering people, not hammering, but we're constantly pounding during our webinars saying, look at the daily chart, look at the daily chart, look left, look at the daily chart. So, we recognize there's a lot of people out there that are newer to the game and that would like to learn a little bit more about charts. And so, it's a good exercise that we can do. We can mark up some charts together, and maybe somebody can learn a thing or two, or maybe add a new concept to their chart repertoire. All right. Is it too soon to ask for a timeline? I know, yeah, probably, even before I read the question. When additional brokerages can link with the direct. Yeah, well, we're going to have to get IB basically into production mode first and get all the bugs worked out of that one. I don't know who next in line will be, but there will be somebody next in line. All of this automated brokerage plus a connection to IB, and then later down the road to somebody else, and then hopefully somebody else. It's all a means to a bigger grand plan that Dan has to help people to do paper trading using the Autobot to get a real good comfort feeling before they're actually using real money. So there's still a lot of work yet to be done on that, but anything that comes of new updates, we'll certainly let you know. All right, is the horseshoe up window for a daily or intraday pattern? Both. Great question, James. It is both. Matter of fact, it's funny you say that. Let's take a look at Weight Watchers today. Weight Watchers was getting ready to start to do it, had a big gap up there and couldn't fill the gap and was starting to move higher. Well, Weight Watchers just reported earnings. They're up to about $24, $25 right now after market. Pandora was a good one. I'm trying to recall when it was.
Oh, you got to go.
You got to go way back.
Yeah, you do.
There it is. There it is. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Look at that. So, James, the answer is yes, the horseshoe up is a fractal type pattern, whether it's 15-minute candles or a daily candle. Here's our gap up on the daily Pandora, a couple of days of attempt to fill the gap, unsuccessful, and a move back to new highs, and then, of course, momentum back to the upside. Great question. It is both intraday and daily type of pattern, because it's just simply a momentum play where the gap has, for the most part, failed to come back in. Wow, that's a long. There we go.
Yeah. Now, if you're referring to the alert, we don't have an alert built for daily patterns.
Daily, no, we don't.
No.
We have it built for intraday, and the only one I really had today, unless I've got a better history. Let's see if we can find a great intraday. There. That's why I call it the horseshoe right there. Basically, it triggered, but then it did fall back. So the U-shaped pattern is what we get on that one. That one was a failed horseshoe. This one was a wonderful horseshoe. There's the gap up, the failure to fill the entire gap, chop around, back to highs, resistance, 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 bam. These are my favorite patterns. And so to answer your question, great question, James, they can occur both on the daily and the intraday. Will you share the pre-market scan for us? Sure. And again, this is just a very, very preliminary way of me trying to figure out, how this new filter works. But I'm happy to save and share and drop this in to the chat window on your GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. I'll drop that in there. Pre-market. Paste.
While he's doing that, Roy, no, I'm sorry. That external linking is something you have to do each morning. There's no way to save that the external linking. I know it can be because I've been doing it for years. But yep, you just got to get it done. Get it done out of the way in the morning.
Yep, just one of those things you got to do.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, so we're caught up on questions. Anybody's been sitting on one, we still got 5 minutes. Or if you want a chart you want to take a look at, by all means, we're happy to look at those.
And if anybody's in here that has some basic questions, if you're in here for the first time and you're just seeing the product, we'd like to see anyone's questions. So
well, let's do this. Looking at this as a first-time user is probably like sitting in a cockpit of an F-14. However, what we've got is this channel bar over here, which can all of a sudden give you some pre-configured scans and layouts. This is our pre-market, stocks that are gapping up, stocks that are gapping down. This is our alpha predator, stuff that's really in motion. A lot of the low floaters, high moving, high beta morning scalpers like to use this one. Social media, what is the crowd talking about? What's on everybody's mind on stock twits? Surge, these are stocks that are coming through in real time that are having a surge in volume. There's interesting stuff on there. So let's say I really like this surge volume scan, but I don't want to sit on this channel all day. I want to go back and I want to monitor Holly and I want to monitor my other stuff. Well, again, this is a starting point for new traders just to kind of, channel surf. But once you start to see stuff you like, basically just save something that you see here, because I can't make any changes. This is a public station. No changes will stick. But if I right-click and save to cloud, I'll do it again, and then navigate back to my layout, load layout, default layout, which is the layout that Trade Ideas uses to start every time you start a Trade Ideas session. It's going to take you back to your default layout. Well, then I simply just go ahead and receive what I put in my cloud from that channel bar. So I no longer have to basically sit on a channel bar the entire time. And as you can see, I've got a lot of stuff in my cloud. There it is. The action's heating up. That's the one that I stole from that particular channel. Now I can use it any way I want, save it, reconfigure it, do whatever I want. So another workaround for those that are newer that want to start off maybe using the channel bar as a place to start and grab a few ideas. Okay.
Yep, very good. Did I hear rumors of a number of trades on the day filter? I'm not sure what you're saying there, Stu.
A number of trades on the day filter. A rumor of a number of trades. I think if you're referring to IB, you can crank down a maximum amount of trades to fire off. If you don't want any more than 5 trades to fire off, you can do that. If you're talking about an alert and you don't want to see the same stock come through 9 different times making highs 9 times in a row, you can do what's called don't repeat, and don't repeat for 5 minutes, 15, 30, or an hour if that's what you were talking about. So hopefully one of those 2 questions got it. The audio alert, does it call out the actual stock? Yes, it can. So let's go to Holly here, close trades. We just right-click inside of our open or close trades, go to actions, and on the sound, we enable play sound, but in the sound setup, do text to speech, and crank up your volume, and you will hear a female voice read off the actual symbol as an alert as it comes out.
Sometimes she will say the symbol if she can pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She'll, like a SI-FI there, she may say sci-fi
Tippy. Yeah.
or SIFI or sci-fi. Yeah, but in a lot of times she'll just spell out the symbol for you. But she will not pronounce the company name. No.
No. Okay. Any more questions before we turn it over to Scott? I think you answered Dale's question, correct? Okay,
No, I
I'm going
didn't
to
answer
actually
Dale's.
times created.
Let's see, how many stock charts can you create at a time? Charts, do we have a limit of 10?
I don't know, but I know that if you start creating a lot of windows, it is going to start to slow things down a little bit. So you want to be careful to not have too many windows open. As far as chart windows go, I see no reason you couldn't have 3 or 4.
No.
Yeah.
But as someone did bring it up that there is a limit of 10. I did not know that. I heard that the other day because I only keep 2. I've always have. I don't follow. I get my ideas from the alerts. I don't need to keep track of a lot of stocks, but I would never have that many. But
yeah, Josh, it's a common question. How do you identify what these actual strategies mean? I'll try and give you the idea on a couple. Buyers stepping in. If I didn't, that one, I don't know which trade that was today. Buyers stepping in. So if we go to this one, we can kind of see that it was basically right here. So basically, that was a pullback. A pullback type alert off of that blue tag. So buyers were in a nice pullback, and then so that seems to be a pullback type alert in my opinion. Okay, selling into strength, we talked about that one ad nauseum, using fading strategies as the stock moves higher, stepping in front. Cuts like a knife, I don't know what that one is. If we took a look at cuts like a knife BLDP, I'm thinking right here it was a short strategy, and this would be basically a momentum strategy, trying to cut through and continue to move through. So a continuation short strategy. Looking for a bounce, just like it sounds, buying on support. Putting on the brakes is very similar to selling strength. Again, it's a short selling strategy that's jumping in front of the price action. Knocking on resistance would be the same type of thing. Short selling level of resistance. But we do, and we're doing our best to try and prioritize this because it's a very common request. Can you at least give us some sort of idea of what these particular strategies do? Buying on support, it's basically looking to go long on support. Anytime you see power hour, long or short, it's basically going to be the last hour of the day, looking for a momentum trade, either long or short. But that one has a market filter on it, so it's going to look at the market, what the market's doing in the last 20 minutes. If we're getting a big red candle in the spiders in the last 20 minutes, you may see some power hour shorts fire. Okay. Yes, matter of fact, I did speak with Dan today regarding charts. Charts are the new priority for trade ideas. To get some moving averages and some better functionality into the charts. So I can say that with confidence that the recent priorities meeting was, let's get our charts to the next level where people would like them. And so I can tell you that more good stuff is coming for the charts here pretty soon. All right, I think that's going to do it. So hopefully you're there, Scott. If you are, come on in and let some new people know, what some of the promos are going on here.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. We're still looking at your agenda there.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's start here.
Well, we have a podcast. We've had it for several months now, and the audience has been growing, and I want to invite you as well. It comes out on Fridays after the market. Gives you something to listen to over the weekend. Get your ears prepped for the Monday in the markets. Just search for Trade Ideas Podcast inside whatever application you use to listen to your favorite podcasts, and you'll find it. We also send you an email on Fridays when it goes live, so you can listen in your browser as well. So do search for that. We have a code for you today. That code is good for the next couple of weeks, and it is Trade for Alpha, just like you see it on the screen. You can also download a handout. There's a handouts panel in your GoToWebinar interface. There's a little plus or an arrow next to it. You just expand that. You can download a PDF with some of these slides. Now that code takes 15% off your first month or year of Trade Ideas, and it's a great little incentive to come on board with us. It covers both the standard and the premium versions of Trade Ideas, and do remember that even the standard version includes a full hour of one-on-one training. So after you have after you become a subscriber and downloaded and installed Trade Ideas, you should watch some of the training videos as well as go into the trading room so that you know what you want to learn during your hour. And after you've determined that, go sign up for it. It's at the support section of the website. Just click on training in the support section and fill out the best time and date for that. But yeah, Trade for Alpha, just like you see it on the screen, all caps. It is case sensitive. We'll take 15% off your first month or year. Also, if you have any questions, just shoot us an email. info@trade-ideas.com is the best email to send your questions to, although you can reach out to Steve directly, Steve at, or Andy at for Andy. Also, we're at Trade Ideas Pro on Facebook, so facebook.com/TradeIdeasPro. Go ahead and follow us there so you can share what we post with your friends. We post some different stuff there sometimes, so it's worth it to do that. Follow Steve on Twitter at TodayTrader, Dan Merkins at Trade Ideas 1. We also have at Trade Ideas. Keep tuned for an invite to tomorrow's webinar. We have a Q&A webinar with Dan Merkin tomorrow, so you should get that invite a little bit later on this afternoon. Thanks, Steve and Andy. We will send everyone an update with the recording after the conversion and upload. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody.